Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to a very, very special edition of The Psychic and the Doc. Today, it is Remembering with Compassion. I get to join this show with my fabulous co-host, Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, best-selling author, and much more. And today, it was very important for us to carve out time, even though we might be a couple of days ahead, remembering with compassion. Remembering, we're coming up on Memorial Day. And as we come up on Memorial Day, there's so much that it brings forward given this time of the pandemic. There's so much that comes forward with us remembering. And this is a special live call-in show for all of you, just so you know, because this is what Mark does as his gift to all of you. This is the way that we get to connect with our loved ones. And this is the way we get to remember the truth of who we are. Mark, thank you for this very special show. Jacob, thank you for that beautiful, beautiful opening.
Yeah, I want to say, whenever I hear taps, it has a very special meaning for me now for two reasons. When my father was dying of cancer, his last adventure was going on the honor flight. And the honor flight's an organization that a group of pilots started to fly veterans to DC to see the memorials and the monuments erected to them. And at Arlington National Cemetery, we were there for the changing of the guard, and they played taps. And then at my father's service, the Navy Honor Guard came. My dad was a Navy SEAL, and they played taps, and it was just, there was not a dry eye in the house. And so I'm very honored and humbled that we started the show with taps. And it's really so great working with you, Dr. Pat, because what we're doing is helping people. We're providing a safe haven for spirit communication and also for your insights, because you have such a beautiful way of connecting with people. And the thing I like about you, my practice of law through the years, I've known a lot of psychologists and expert witnesses, and you're not one of those hoity-toity, tutti-frutti. I mean, you tell people like it is, but you connect on a heart level. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thanks for saying that. I think, Mark, what I love about this, and I love about the support we're providing to our audience, and what we've done to really elevate a level of awareness and a connection, especially through this pandemic, I think has caused each of us to really reach out and dig deep inside and say, who am I? And who did I want to become? And which part of that journey am I really living? And which part do I need to step up? And I think for me, and I know for you, I mean, you're getting ready for a brand new book launch. You've been out there working with people, pandemic, no pandemic. You've been finding ways to come virtually to meet people. And so you and I have a commitment so that we don't miss a beat. And sometimes I don't say it enough, but we listen to what our audience wants. We bring
Yeah.
things forward. Today's show is for remembering and compassion, isn't it?
It is, and even though it's Memorial Day, we're taking calls from anyone,
Yep.
because remembering, absolutely, we have to honor our veterans, the men and women who put their lives on the line for freedoms that we take for granted. And the thing about freedom is it isn't free. Somebody paid for it with their lives. But it's also important for us to remember all of our loved ones who've passed. So, we are taking calls, 1-800-930-2819. Call in, and Dr. Pat and I are looking forward to talking to you.
And believe me, this is an interactive show. And I think I love, Mark, how you said that, because it's not just, this is, like we said, remembering and compassion. I know I have a loved one that in my family was lost in a war, a number of wars, but look, we can go through the list of what that looks like, including Afghanistan, including Iraq,
Uh-huh.
including Vietnam, including the Korean War, including, you fill in the gap. And then there are moments that most of us, we were not in war. And just because we're not in war, it doesn't mean that the men and women that serve do not put their lives at risk. And so I know we're talking about this once a year, Mark, but I'm hoping that today's show creates a ripple effect so that remembering goes beyond Memorial Day. What do you think?
Absolutely. And in the last week, my Aunt Betty died from complications as a result of COVID. And we got to remember all the people who died from COVID. I know the number is almost 600,000 in this country alone. I know that India is getting slammed by it right now. Recently, a friend of mine passed, and she was just an amazing person. Her name was Susan. She was a nurse, and she was so compassionate, and her work was with terminally ill people. And unfortunately for her, she had underlying health conditions that took her down, and she put up a really good fight, but she was in a coma for a couple weeks. And at her service, her younger brother Peter, and Peter was kind of, like, I knew Susan, and then her brother Frank was my age, and Peter was like the kid brother that we'd always tease and give a hard time. But Peter gave such a beautiful eulogy, and he was explaining that she was a combination of Morticia Adams and Stevie Nicks with a little bit of Mother Teresa thrown in. And he told this amazing story, Dr. Pat, that Susan was caring for this young man, and this is back during the last pandemic, which is the HIV crisis. And he had probably hours to live. And another patient coded, and she had to leave. And he said, please don't leave me. I don't want to die alone. And she said, I'll be right back. And she said a prayer that he wouldn't be alone. And so she took care of this other patient, returned not quite a half hour later, and he was still hanging on. And he said, I wasn't afraid, because after you said that prayer and turned away, an angel came out of your back and sat on my bed and stayed with me until you came back.
Yeah.
And there are things that defy logical explanation. Certainly, I see it all the time in my work as a medium. I know you've seen it in your adventures and encounters in your life, and certainly as a psychologist. But we must never underplay the power and the reality of miracles. And what Peter said at Susan's funeral, he said, we prayed by her bedside. We prayed for that miracle. And then she died. And I asked, where was that miracle? And it suddenly dawned on me, her life was that miracle, that she was the miracle. It was a miracle that she lived, that she loved us, that she affected so many lives. And so this show, Remembering with Compassion, we have to realize that yes, everyone we know, including ourselves, we're going to die, but we must remember those people with love and with compassion, because the people we love are the miracles in our midst.
Yeah. I was reflecting upon this day, Mark, and again, we're taking your calls, 1-800-930-2819. Also, we are chatting with you on social media, on our Transformation Talk Radio Facebook page. And, Linda, thank you so much. Lisa, thank you so much for your comments. And, I was at this moment, Mark, where I started to reflect on a number of different things here recently. And I'm being asked to kind of, oh, you're going to write the book, you're going to write the book. And, I'm probably going to write a book. I'm probably not going to write the book that a publisher or a book agent wants me to write. And I think I think that's true because I'm not writing it. But one of the things I reflected upon are the heroes in my life that guided me, those, especially in my life, that served in the military. When I saw a picture of my aunt who served in World War II, and I saw her in a military uniform as a young kid, and how she talked about it, my dad's sister, I had never had the experience of that. But remember, we were coming off something, that generation came off something that they never thought would end. And we don't talk about it. We hear in the media a little bit reference to Holocaust that people don't think existed.
Yeah.
And I want to say, if we're not going to stop here and remember that as well, this is the day to open our hearts. This is the day to really step back and say, how did we get here? Yeah. Civil War, that was one of the largest, more lives lost in that conflict in the US history. And that opened up the door to bring people to a uniform cemetery, to really do a place to rest. So each year on Memorial Day, even though we're not on Memorial Day, get ready for it's coming. There's this 3 p.m. time that people take remembrance.
Yeah.
We want to do that now. We want to go to the phones. We want to hear people. We want to allow for that space to happen. Because in the world of grief and pain and remembrance, one of the most powerful things, Mark, that I've learned in whether it's studying or not studying is to have witnesses. Are we ready to go to the phone?
I'm ready.
All right. Jacob, who do we have?
We're going to bring on Darren from Florida.
Kind of caught Jacob by surprise right there. I think like Jacob's thinking she's going to go to a break.
Oh, no, we've got Darren.
Totally blew the break. Totally blew that break, Jacob. Sorry. Okay, hey, Darren, we've got Darren. All right. Thank you, Jacob. Sorry. Hi, Darren. Darren, I know you're there because you're from Florida.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you guys were asking me to come on.
Yeah, we're ready for you. You're live.
Okay. Well, I didn't know what the topic was going to be tonight. I was actually calling to see if Mark had any prophetic or psychic insight into something I wanted to ask about. But I do have something to add to the conversation. Even though I didn't have someone to, die in war or anything, I've had family members, be in the military. Yeah. But I think I can relate to grief in general. Yeah. I can very much relate to grief in so many ways, and loss, because I have lost so much over the past several years, and over, really the span of my lifetime, but especially in the last several years. It's been loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. And it's like after it's like it gets to a point where it like changes you, like grief. I feel like grief really changes you. At least it did me. Like it really changed me. It took a lot out of me because I lost myself, and I'm really in the process right now of trying to. It's such a frustrating and confusing and mind-boggling journey that I'm on, because I'm trying to figure out what can I salvage, what pieces of myself that are left that I can salvage, and what do I do with what's left, and who am I now, like, you know. And anyway, that's the journey that I'm on. Like it's been a lot of emotional grief, emotional loss, like heartbreak, you know, back to back. And so that's my. But I'm trying to, as far as like when you say remembering with compassion, it's hard to do that. Like when you've been like when you've been hurt like so much, and you know, it's hard to remember with compassion. But what I try to take from it is that I'm still here, and that I can learn from the things that I have lost and all the disappointment, because that's big, disappointment. So I can learn like where I went wrong and what I can do better. But that is much easier said than done when it's complex grief, when the grief is very complex and deep. It's easy to say, well, learn from the past. Yeah, easy to say that, but it's hard to focus on that. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Hey, Darren, hold on, Darren. I don't mean to cut you off, but I got a spirit banging on me right now. Okay, I'm getting a female energy coming through, and she feels like she could be a grandmother, but she feels very maternal towards you. And what I'm getting with her, based on the visuals that I'm getting, I see like a bathrobe, which indicates to me that her passing was not quick. So the way I see spirits depicted wearing clothing, that indicates that she was very ill prior to passing, or may have spent a lot of time in bed. And I'm also getting that toward the end, this diffuse, confused state. So she was having issues with mental focus, clarity, lucidity. But she was coming in and out, okay, and you know, so she would have some good days and then some not so coherent days. And I'm also getting a lot of pains in my arches and feet, which are indicating circulation problems, issues with my legs, which would indicate as well that she was having difficulty ambulating, walking, getting around. Okay, I get that the two of you were very, 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 very close, because I see her reaching out and taking your hand, and her handing a ring of significance to you. Does any of this make sense? Does any of this resonate with you?
Well, the ring doesn't. But when you first said a woman was coming through, the first person that came to mind was my grandmother.
Okay, yeah, very maternal towards you. Remember, I said it could be a grandmother or a mother. But she's still focusing on the ring. But hold on, before the ring, obviously it's a diamond. I don't say obviously, but it's a diamond ring. And so there could be a diamond ring of significance, maybe her wedding ring that may have some significance in the family. But because it's a diamond, diamonds are the birthstone for the month of April. So what she could also be referencing is a significant birth, death, anniversary, or event, which may be connected to her or you within the month of April.
Wow.
Does that make any sense?
Wow. Yes, Anthony. Can I tell you something? Can I tell you this?
Sure. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is what she's referencing, but there's something that happened a little over 3 years ago in the month of April, and I lost a very close friend to a massive heart attack. He died instantly, and it was very shocking, very devastating. And at his funeral, I met someone by the same name. And this person became, let's say it became a love interest, and that became very, very, very painful for me. And it brought up so many feelings of, it just stirred up so much in me, like so many childhood issues, so many issues with rejection, betrayal, abandonment, loss. And it's been 3 years, and I have, just last week I saw this person at a funeral, and that's actually where I met him, at a funeral, and I saw this person again at a funeral, and
your friend that passed in April. Sorry, Darren, I don't mean to cut you off. Your friend that passed in April, did you talk to him? Because he's telling me that you talked to him on the phone like maybe a day or two before he had the heart attack. Because it seems like he knew there was some stuff going on, but the heart attack hit him like a sledgehammer. But it seems like you guys talked right not very long before he passed.
We did.
Yeah,
We
and he's
did, yes.
very grateful. Hold on, he's very grateful for that conversation. And this other gentleman that you met at his funeral, that you just saw at the other funeral, he said that you're there for him as much as he is there for you, because he said, while nobody has all the answers, what he said, Darren, is that you are one, and these are his words, one hell of a good listener.
Okay.
Dr. Pat, you got what?
I got it.
Yeah, I want to hear what you got to say for sure.
Okay, Darren, you still there? You okay? Darren, you okay?
I am. I just had. Can I ask you a question, Mark?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
Trust me, I don't mind taking a back seat to Mark. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but I always love
No.
Dr. Pat. What's really good, Darren, is like when I do a reading, Dr. Pat's really good at interpreting and making sense out of things, because I'm just the pass through, and then you're like getting it. And she's like, well, wait a second. This is what this looks like to me. But go ahead, Darren. I'm ready. Go ahead.
Darren has got me on the edge of my seat because people don't ask Mark questions. I'm like, okay, let's go. Ask Mark that question.
Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working on something, and I'm sorry, Pat, if I interrupted you. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You did not. But I mean, honestly, you could hear the gaping gap in sound. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm working on this is a big question. I'm working on a movie script that I'm trying. You know, that's what I'm realizing. That's what I was born to do. Is write. I've been doing this since I was a child. But I've come with ideas, and I have ideas for a movie series, TV show series that I want to send to this big studio. If I said the name, you'd know. But you know how hard it is to get in Hollywood and to get them to pay attention to what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm basically a nobody at this point, you know, to them. So I want to know if you can see psychically if I will get you know, for one, I want it to be financially lucrative. That's important.
Wait, hold on, Darren. First off, with spirit communication, and I mean this with all due respect, it's not a list for Santa Claus. First off, I want this. Well, of course, if you're going to write a movie script, you want it to make money. I mean, nobody says, I want to write a movie that's going to totally bomb and not make any money. Okay. But the messages that I'm getting for you is the script's got to be really tight, and it's got to be finished first. And then you've got to have a couple other screenwriters go over it. And then you've got to get somebody on the inside in LA. They keep saying in LA, not New York, in LA, to show run it for you. And they said that you're about 3 to 4 years off from doing that, because between now and then, you're going to start making the relationships and the contacts to make that happen. So that's the message.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So Darren, can I make a comment? You cool?
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, I posted on social media a sort of, I don't know, what do I want to call it? Snapshot of what you said. And I thanked you. And I want you to hold on to this, because you are not a nobody. So let's you and I look me in this camera. If you are not looking in my eyes, you need to look in them eyes right now. You are not a nobody. You are a somebody. And here's what I wrote. And this is something really important. When you call in and your pure, raw honesty and vulnerability about grief, about your journey, about where you are, about what's important to you, about where you are in your journey, forward, backwards, anywhere of that. When you do that, what I've learned in 17 years doing this, going on 18, you are touching thousands of lives of people that just did not know how to say that. And I want you to know how deeply grateful I am for you in this show today. You got that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now on a practical note, LA is not Louisiana. Just in case you might be thinking LA is Louisiana.
Oh, sorry.
I learned something a long time ago, and I'm going to share it with you, and not because I think it's you. I learned a long time ago when somebody told me that I was wasting my time. I was wasting a lot of money. It didn't make sense that I'd be sharing airtime, that this new positive talk venue, nobody would really listen to this crap. That's their language, but they actually use some other words. And they told me that. And I was at one of the most worst depressing time in my life. The show was called Crust Busting Your Way to an Awesome Life because I was so crusted over I couldn't think. So what I want to say to you is, what you can conceive, you can achieve. The greatest obstacles that any of us have, and I just want to leave you with this, is allowing our minds to tell us that we have not been given the gift of conceiving and achieving. You've already got that gift. You now have put it out there on air. Don't tell us what the screenplay or script says. You may want to pitch it as a book first, but don't let go of your dream. Don't let anybody tell you you're not enough, because yeah, honestly, Darren, you would not be calling into this show at all. You have courage, you have conviction, and you have compassion. And when you put those 3 C's together, there's nothing that you're not going to be able to do. And I'm going to do another show. I hope you will listen to that. And I'm going to talk about the graduated acceleration of grief, what it does, and what we can do to overcome it together. So thank you for remembering us enough to call in. And thank you for remembering yourself enough to know you are more than enough. Thank you, Darren. Mark, why don't we take a short break if we could? That was a lot, man. I'm just staring, got me all choked up right there.
Right,
I got choked up.
Yeah, and I know we got a number of other callers, so everyone please hang on, and
We'll get right back to you.
Yeah,
Yep.
We'll be right back to you.
And then we're going to skip the last break. So everybody just, bear with us. Just take a breath. Bear with it. I'm going to get my bear drum. Where is that? We'll be right back, Jacob. So welcome back to the Psychic and the Doc. And I think, Mark, you hit on something. We're going to have to really do a show moving forward on this. Not quite sure when we'll do it, but I think it's really important because you hit on something. We're calling today Remembering with Compassion, or Remembering in Compassion, however you want to do it. And we're going to go right to the phones here, Lisa. Just be with us. But before we do, how do people find out about you? And I know you all are asking how to find out about me. My website will be up. I don't know when, but it'll be up soon. I'm usually staying behind the scenes. I'm quite the introvert, but here we are. Mark, I'm learning from Mark, though. I'm learning from Mark and Rocky. How do we find out about you, Mark? I got to hire Rocky.
Well, my new and improved website has a new and improved domain, which is www.afterlifefrequency.com, which is the same title as my upcoming book, The Afterlife Frequency. So afterlifefrequency.com. You can find out about a phone reading, subscribe to my newsletter, and in my newsletter, you will find out about upcoming episodes of The Psychic and the Doc. And we got some great guests coming up. June's going to be a month on Diversity Fire.
Yeah. FYI, if you go to Mark's site, he didn't even say this to Darren. Go over there and it says grief management. Okay. All right. We ready to hit the phones?
All right. We're going to head over to Lisa from Washington.
Thank you, Jacob. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Hey, you're live. Your dog's live too.
Hi.
Hey.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's cool.
Okay. So I had a question for Mark. Can you hear me okay?
Ready. Yeah, we can hear. I'm sorry. You know what it is,
you.
Lisa? I'm listening.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, Lisa, I'm ready for your question. Go right ahead.
Okay. A few months ago, I asked about my son who died back in 2016, and he came through. Whoops, it's echoing for me. Hold on just one sec.
Well, just turn your speakers down. You'll be okay.
Okay.
We can hear you really good.
Okay. So when he came through, at that point, long story short, he had died in prison. I was in the middle of a lawsuit. And my question was, I was wondering, was I supposed to pursue it? I thought he was saying yes, but now some new information came through from the cellmate who was actually there when he died. He was with him. And I feel like we finally have the truth. And it was almost like a big relief. And I feel like that was the truth that this guy gave us. And that I don't really need to keep trying to
No,
make
you
this
don't,
lawsuit
because
happen.
sorry, Lisa, I don't mean to intrude, but the message is coming in right away. Let it go. He said, let it go, because all that's going to happen is basically saying it's an exercise in futility. It's going to just rehash lots of pain and agony. And he said that his journey in this world had come to an end. And he said for him, it's a relief on the other side. He said that the mental and the emotional, the physical stress is off his body. And he keeps talking about what's going on with you. And he's focusing my attention on, are you having a lot of issues possibly in your back, your spine? And it could be just discomfort, but I feel so tight that obviously you're under a lot of stress, but I'm feeling tingles and neurological complications going on, running up and down your spine. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So
for a very long time.
Yeah. So letting go of this and moving forward with your life is going to be an important psychological release that's going to have physiological implications. In other words, letting go of that physical stress is going to help you. Dr. Pat?
Yeah. Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes.
If you go back and watch the video playback, you're going to hear an expression or see an expression from me that honestly, it's rare. My head went back. I was in awe of the moment. And I think what Mark is saying is spot on. But I really want you to really get heart connected. This is exactly what this show's about. I want you to go to remembrance and compassion. But, and this is my but, you have to make sure that the justice end of this is resolved for you. Not for the cellmate, but for you. Do you understand what I mean without me going into a lot of big detail here, Lisa?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Somewhere in the waveforms of your voice, there's a question mark. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, and you don't need to share it. You must get rid of the question mark for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does, and it kind of feels like maybe that's why I called in.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are two very important sides to this.
It was like a big relief, and
Yep.
I had gained about 50 pounds, and then the pain got worse. And then,
Yes. Oh, sister, believe me, I feel you. And I feel you because I've been there. There's a reason I studied procedural justice for a lot of years. This is really your personal journey, but what Mark said is so important. So let me say it in the behavioral practical way. Everything Mark said is spot on. Things get dissolved energetically, but this is for you to contemplate. That is resolution number 1. Will that be the final resolution for you? Or is there a next step you really want to take that allows you to stand in your power? Because if you take this step forward, and this is a step forward that does exactly like Mark says, that puts you in a worse place than you are now, man, it is not worth the price. However, if that step forward whatever that is. Maybe it's an inquiry, maybe it's a question, maybe it's a dialogue, maybe it's like dot, 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 dot. If that step forward, or if they become steps of empowerment, Lisa, you got to ask yourself, if I don't take them steps forward, how am I going to feel a year from now? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. So you get 2 answers for the price of 1.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you
Lisa,
mentioned
thank you so much for tuning in,
Yeah.
Lisa. We really appreciate it. And this is why we're doing this show.
This is a tough one. Yeah. Boy, this is a tough one, Lisa. I know we're chuckling a little bit, but this is where you get to make the next decision that is for Lisa.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Wish we had more time. Jacob, who do we have?
Next up, we're headed to Minnesota with Greg.
When are we going to do the 2-hour thing, Mark? Greg, welcome. You're live. You're live, Mark. You're live, Mark. You're live, Greg. Come on.
Greg, we know you're there.
I know you're there. I can feel you.
I can hear. I was just swallowing something here.
Mark was doing the same thing.
I know. I'm like taking like.
Yeah. All right, Greg. How can we help you today?
Well, talking about grief, I cry. So I've lost 3 important people in my life in the last 5 to 6 years.
Wow.
One was my dad, and then 2.5 years ago, my older brother, who I looked up to very much, and then my wife last year. So, and I've been grieving these 3 people, and you talked about compassion. I've always had a lot of compassion for anybody and everybody, and I work with and try to be fair to people, nice to people, and help whenever needed. But anyway, I'm just trying to get through all this grief. And some days are good, some days aren't as good. But that's what the stuff I've been reading. And by the way, before I forget, I'm looking forward to your new book, Mark, because I have your other books already. And
thank you.
I've been a fan of yours for many years.
Oh gosh, thank you. That's very. I'm honored.
Yeah.
Greg, let me
Mark's
see.
Amazing.
Well, okay. It was funny because not funny in the ha-ha sense, but when you came on, you said, I've got a lot of losses, and I got Dad. And then you said my father.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got your father. And, I know it's Memorial, or, we're doing our Memorial Day show, but was your dad, here's why I'm asking this. A man is coming in associated with you that feels like a father figure. And I do see him holding the American flag. So this could be maybe he's very patriotic, or that he was military. But I'm also getting that prior to passing, I feel my legs are icy cold. And I can't even really feel my legs beneath my knees. So there must have been major circulation issues going on with him. Also, there's other complications in his prostate and colon area that he's transmitting to me. Does any of this make sense with your dad?
Well, he had went through prostate problems.
Okay.
Actually, so did my.
That's a yes. Yeah. So yeah, he's locking on to me. Okay, hold on. We got your wife coming in. I'm tasting a lot of blood. Now, tasting a lot of blood doesn't always mean like a bleed out. What this could indicate is there could have been either an internal hemorrhage or a problem with her blood, some type of disease or a sepsis. But I'm getting this, it just feels like, and I know is not a very good description, but she's transmitting to me that there was something flowing through her bloodstream. Feels like her veins, capillaries were breaking down. I just feel like something was taxing her system, and it seems to have been through her whole body and blood related. Does that make any sense?
Not so much blood related. She had cancer.
Did it metastasize throughout her body?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me explain something. Normally, when I do a private reading, I spend about 15 minutes before we ever start explaining how I perceive information, and different medical conditions and causes of death may have a similar physical sensation to me. So when I'm feeling like this going through my body, to me it feels like something traveling through her blood, but that's also how a metastasized cancer feels. So that's an indicator. We got your wife here, and she's holding up her right hand, and I'm getting a lot of pain in my palm, in my thumb. And I don't know if that relates to her, but she's zeroing in on you. Is there anything going on with your right hand, your right thumb, your palm?
Not so much there, but my shoulder and upper right back.
Upper right back. Okay.
In my right arm is
right arm. Okay. Yeah. They got to get me there. Yeah. Well, what she's explaining to me is you have nerve impingement in your rotator cuff in your shoulder, and it's also focused on C3-4. So you probably need to get a chiropractic adjustment, or my advice is to get this checked out, because you got some nerve impingement. It feels like you got a bulging disc, and she keeps bringing me to C3-4 in your neck. Hold on. Your brother just popped in and he threw a bottle of Drambuie at me and he's laughing. What's with your brother and the Caribbean liqueurs and liquors? Or a visit to the Caribbean?
Boy, he didn't drink, period, any alcohol.
What about the Caribbean?
He's never been there.
Well, no. What about you?
Yeah.
You know, I've been on a Caribbean cruise. Yeah.
That's a yes. Okay. Like I said, in my pre-explanation, I have more time to do all this. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got your wife, your brother, your dad. They're all lined up. They're all rooting for you, but they all also know that you are suffering immensely. Obviously, it doesn't take spirits to let us know that. But your wife keeps giving me, all of them collectively keep giving me two images, a hawk and an owl. A hawk and an owl. So there's got to be something about the symbol of a hawk or an owl, or you seeing them, or an image of them. And they say that this is very important and connected to your liberation from grief.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I think what we need to do, I think there's a little bit interference on his end. So maybe what we'll do is, why don't
We'll
we
just
go
ask him to
ahead?
call in next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and mute that, Jacob, because we want to make sure that he can hear Mark. So whatever that is, go ahead and mute that. Maybe we can continue to talk about that as Greg listens, because sometimes people have lives, they get disconnected. And so, Greg, that was part of the message. Call in next week and we'll get you on the rest. How's that, Mark?
That sounds good. And also for people, when you call in, you got to realize you got to turn off your speakers, because what happens is your phone picks up the electromagnetic energy from there, and we get feedback, and it causes sound distortion, which is not only difficult for Dr. Pat and I to hear, but it thwarts the connection with the other side.
Yeah. I just have one comment, and Greg, you can call in, we could pick it up. Of course, you are compassionate and empathetic for people. And the question is, who is there? I think that was Rocky's dog. Who is there for you? That's my question for you to think about till you call in again. All right, Jacob, where are we?
Next up, we're headed to Texas with Karen.
Karen. Hi, Karen. Karen, welcome to the Psychic and the Doc. You're live, so whatever you say, like you're live.
Hi.
Hey. Hi.
Hey. Oh, I'm so glad. I was hoping and praying. So
you got it. Prayer works.
It works. So just a real quick thing. I actually did see Mark Anthony when he was at the Unity of Dallas a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, that I remember. That was the crowd was really awesome.
Yeah, and so I was hoping that somebody came through and but there was somebody else that had a similar situation, but a lot of it I related to. So I was like, I wasn't really sure if I should stand up or not stand up, so I didn't. So I'm hoping.
Well, you're
that,
here now. So what can I do for you? All right. Here's the thing, Karen. We have limited, precious time. So,
Okay.
who do you want to hear from?
So Sissy, who was like a mother to me, she passed away in 2016.
That's all I need to know.
That's good. You're good to go. You're fine.
Stop.
Okay. You're good.
Okay.
We're gonna get you stuff now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. What I'm getting, there's female energy coming through, and man, my kidneys are killing me. So there must have been going something either with her hips, because the kidneys sit right above the hips, but I'm getting kidney issues. I'm getting a sense of dehydration, difficulty. Okay, I understand this sensation. Again, the sedated dehydration. Was she under medical treatment or palliative care like hospice prior to the end?
She was.
Okay, that's I'll just cut to the chase. So she's coming through for you. Hold on. And yes, she was like a mother to you, and she said you were the daughter that she really wanted, but not the one that she had ended up with. So that's interesting. So I don't know if she had a biological daughter, but she said you're the daughter that she always wanted. Does that make sense?
It does, and she gave birth to 3 sons, did not have any biological daughters, but she did have 2 stepdaughters with her second marriage, and she did love them, but she always said I was the daughter.
All right, hold on, Karen, Cliff Notes version, please. Okay, reason being, because I want to get a
we gotta love
You're a lot of fun,
stepmother.
Karen. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta love our stepmothers. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, we do. Okay. She says July is a pivotal month for you. And it seems like there's some things like either a birth, death, anniversary, or event in July, but it feels like this coming July is pivotal. Like there's this big decision, this big change. And she said it's a sense of refreshment, like you're going to be refreshed, renewed, reopened. Does that make any sense?
Well, I'm debating whether I want to stay in Texas or move back home to New Jersey with my family, and I went back there recently. So it's been weighing heavy on me, and so that's I'm just torn apart as to what I should do. I've been here for 31 years, and so.
Well, that decision is going to be made in July. Now, people are always asking, well, what should they? All right. The thing is, spirits are not here to control you. They're here to guide you. So you will make that decision. And I get the feeling that you're going to be making the right decision, because they show that wherever you're going to live, I see a bunch of birch trees, trees with like that white bark. And I'm seeing what looks like maple and elm leaves falling to the ground, and it has this very autumny feel. And I'm smelling autumn scents, pumpkin pie, cinnamon, ginger. So there's something that doesn't sound very Dallas to me. That sounds more New Jersey. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, well, I'm from New Jersey, so. Yes.
Well, I know that you said that. That's what I'm saying. That looks more New Jersey. So, I'm not telling you move back there, but that's what the spirits are telling me. They're also saying that even though you've been in Dallas for 31 years, you don't really feel connected there.
Not anymore, because Sissy and her husband, I think they were the reason why I stayed so long, and so now. I think the more years that she's gone, the more less connected I feel, and so. But I do have one question. I do apologize, but the day that she passed, like I said, we were there, and she made one comment, and I know it was not meant the way, but she was on hospice. They did come, and her family supported me, and she had cardiac heart failure, and she did have the kidneys because they were going to put her on dialysis, but she ended up passing. But she made a comment that day. It was on Easter Sunday that year that she passed, and she said, "Don't let them kill me." And and I don't know if she was a jokester. I don't know if she was saying it like that, but she also knew she was on hospice. that they would be giving her the morphine to help her pass. But but that just, it kind of sits with me because me and my son were there with her, and her other family members got there before she passed, and her son actually held her hand, so I was glad he was there. But that one thing is really I have everything else. I mean, we're good. Me and her are good. We were there for each other, so there's no regrets or guilt or anything. But just that one comment,
Karen,
I would love to know.
Karen, what is your question, please?
Yeah, please.
Well, what does she mean by that when she said that?
Okay.
She indicates that she was just scared, and she said that that's just something that blurted out because now as a spirit she understands that she had to be made as comfortable as possible during her transition, because if they had not given her the morphine, she said the excruciating pain in her kidneys and throughout her body would have been unbearable. She said it would have felt like I was literally burning alive. So, you've got to realize she was just scared. Even though people believe in an afterlife, when you're right there at the precipice, it's like, well, I'm still scared. And she was just clinging on to what she was familiar with. But now that she's made the transition, she's greatly at peace. And I'll leave that with you.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Many blessings.
Yeah, many blessings to you. Thank you for calling in. One of the other things, Mark, that I want to add about that, if you don't mind, especially as it may relate to her and may relate to that passing, but it relates in general to passing. Sometimes what happens, during those moments, those last moments, we're struck with moments in our lives that have come before us. Maybe moments where we have feared for our lives. If you grow up in a neighborhood, say like I grew up in, and you've had those moments where maybe your life was threatened, or maybe just because of who you are, your life was threatened, or maybe because you protested as part of the LGBTQ community at Stonewall, and you remember the fear around that, but yet through your life, you don't remember it as that. In those moments, there may be a reflection of moments in your life. And that call for help may not be to a human body. That call may be a spiritual call. That call may be a call to free oneself of that fear in that moment. And boy, I'll tell you, those are important moments.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. People think of miracles as something that only happens to somebody else. If we pay attention, they happen to all of us. Because a miracle is simply an unexplainable event that feels like it has a spiritual significance. And quite frankly, they're everywhere. We just have to be open to them.
Well, Mark, first of all, thank you for all you do. And thank you so much for all the caring and compassion and helping people remember those things that they are on the edge of understanding or knowing. And, how can we thank our audience, the best audience on the planet, for their vulnerabilities and their heart open sharing. And Mark and I will continue to do this. We got some fun things planned, right, Mark?
We do. June is Pride Month, and we got some amazing guests that are role models for everybody. And also, we will be doing call-in shows. And for the folks that weren't able to get through tonight, please call in again. I'm Mark Anthony, and I'm with the amazing Dr. Pat. And together, we're the Psychic and the Doc, and we are here for you.
Yep. And I want to thank Jacob for doing what he does. Of course, the reason that you're able to see us on social media or Facebook is because all of the pre-work, all of the live work. And I want to thank Jessica for probably being super nimble, picking up all the phones. We're on a journey. We welcome you to take it with us. Please let others know that this is our passion and mission. We are going to help you move through whatever the effect of this pandemic has been, and rise up together. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you all.
Pat. Everybody, many
We'll see-
blessings.
Many blessings. We'll see you next time. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning into The Psychic and the Doc with Mark Anthony and me, Dr. Pat Baccili, right here on transformationtalkradio.com. Hey, look, come back next week so we can explore with you more of life's many challenges and learn from fascinating guests. And you know what? Even Mark and me. We'll connect you and discover insights from people in this life and from the afterlife. Extraordinary problems? Yeah, they do. They require extraordinary solutions. But step into the world of possibilities with us on The Psychic and the Doc. That's every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on transformationtalkradio.com. That's transformationtalkradio.com. And don't forget, we're also live face-to-face on facebook.com, Transformation Talk Radio.